All right. Mic check, mic check. Test, test. How are we doing? I think it's working. I wish I had level meters, but I don't. But I can go on faith. Anyway, so I'm just doing this a little follow up. The other day, I'm out in my wheelchair. I did post this on my channel, and I was trying to give you guys an idea what it's like going up and down the ramp. And I get to the bottom, and I turn around, and I peek real quick down into this bag here. I got my phone stuck in here. I need a mount like that for it. Anyway, I turn around, I start going up the stairs, and you'll see in the picture, if you don't even bother watching it, there's really nothing there. You just kind of, you can see that I'm going up a hill, and you can see some rocking of the camera effect. And you might even, I just do a little, and I just proceeded to go up the ramp, because in my head I was like, I got to redo this. I don't have a good view with my camera, but and this is why I left it on and I posted it. So I get to the top of the ramp, and my wrist was hurting pretty bad. I have history of not one but two wrist scaphoid fractures right here. They call it a fush injury, fall on outstretched hand. Basically, when you go like that and you catch your fall, you snap back the wrist like that. Ouch. And there's a little teeny carpal bone in there called the scaphoid. Has a weird blood flow, retroactive blood flow. It does not follow normal blood flow, so it gets very little oxygenation to the fracture, which is why they're very, if anyone's ever had one, you know that you're in one of those thumb casts for a long time. I mean, I think I was in mine for, well, guys in my class will remember that I was in for the whole semester. I had a thumb spica cast on. But anyway, so I'm heading up the ramp, and I start having all these weird, like my head, I start thinking that I don't have insurance, that every time I'm out here excited about working on my channel, and just something simple, like I think I just re-injured my wrist. I re-aggravated my wrist. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I don't have insurance. Like I've made, these videos about, and which, we're still working on it. And and so I was like, this is just another bump in the road, man. This is like, you've been through a lot worse. It's just a temporary setback. Don't get yourself all upset. Yeah, you don't have insurance. So you're going to have to go to the hospital and be one of those people in the emergency room there for something that really is an emergency care, walk-in medical place. I think, at the worst, I don't got no bones sticking out. I'm not bleeding. I know that I have an old injury, and I'm pretty sure that at that point that I had aggravated it. Fortunately, I treated it kind of in a new way for treating. What I did is I read something when I was in the hospital after the surgery, saw something about treating sprained ankles and how RICE, what is it? Rest, ice, compression, elevation, RICE. ACE wrap, hold it up, takes time. But now what they're doing right off the bat with sprains, or they're going right for immobilization, like, a walker boot or a hard cast more, because they just don't want you taking it off for like 10 days or a week. Not a lot of time, way shorter than a broken bone. And they're actually finding that just complete immobilization and rest really helps a lot. And for sprained ankles, where it's usually been like, give it some rest, but still use it and step walk on it as much as you can as tolerated, which to me never made any sense. But anyway, the point of this, what I was trying to do is, one, check my mic. I hope it works good, so because I'm getting sick of crummy audio on these productions. And I'm going to get a lot better. I got some editing software, and I'm going to take it to the next level. Like I've been planning. These are all just for fun and getting it out there. But I'm going to use this to, like, people who I'm directing this to are people who have had life-changing injuries or surgeries or medical diagnosis, or your whole life's discombobulated, and it's real easy to feel overwhelmed, because it is overwhelming. I mean, those are your feelings. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. You own them. They're yours. And you have every right to feel bitter, angry, sad, upset, betrayed, all of that. You own that. Don't let anyone tell you those emotions are wrong, especially yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Don't try to hold it back. It's stupid. I mean, you can say, I'm going to hold it back. I'm not going to cry. I'm going to show strength around people. And that's good on the outwards, but it's not good on the inwards. For what I've done now is how I've managed to cope with things. Because not only am I dealing with my personal losing a leg, but I'm dealing with all this external stuff with Lincoln Financial, um, basically just pausing my disability case for whatever reasons, which is going to be addressed in a lot more detail now that I have my microphone working, as almost per their request. But I'm just rambling. I'm getting away from it. Okay, 3, 2, 1, back to baseline. The point of the story is it's you're not in a good situation, but it's not the end of the world. You can get through this. You know, keep positive. But getting back to the emotions, here's what's helped me out a little bit is I acknowledge the fact that I have every right to be pissed off or to be sad and start crying and stuff. And I'm not, just because I'm not outward showing it doesn't mean that I'm not internalizing it. But what I do is I say, yeah, that's really upsetting. And I start feeling upset. And then comes emotion. Come on, Steve, you got to be tough. Suck it up, man. You got to stand strong for this situation. It's kind of going back to the paramedic thing. Cops will know this, firemen will know it. Military guys will definitely know this. It's only pain, just suck it up, man. So, but what I do now, it's weird. It's like I acknowledge in my head, you have every right to be upset about the situation. You're entitled to that good hard cry or to scream at the wall or to do anything. Scream at the sky, punch the wall. Don't do that. Um, you have every right to do that. So what I do is I say you have every right to be upset about this. You don't hold it back. But holding it back kind of keeps you together. So like you've acknowledged it, you've accepted the fact that there's something sucked. Your body has expressed its natural response to it, whether it's disgust, anger, sadness. You internally have acknowledged those feelings as being valid. There's not wrong. It's like, man, I shouldn't be so upset about this. No, you have every right to be upset about it. And you've acknowledged it. Yes, I do have a right to be upset about this. I have cried. It just might only be 30 seconds, if that. This might be like, okay. And in my head, I've told myself, like, okay, you have every right to be upset about this. You are upset about it. You should be upset about it. Now it's time to move on. So I've acknowledged that my emotions are valid. I've processed it internally, I'm back to base. Like, okay, now let's deal with it and move on, and not let this hold you back. So I don't know if that made any sense. I don't know if anything I'm doing is making any sense. But if you're watching this, you probably have a lot of time in your hands, just laying in bed at the hospital, watching the nurses coming by, close the door, maybe you leave it open. Maybe you got a roommate, maybe you got the people sundowning at 5 o'clock down the hallway. I mean, it's not fun. So it's one of the reasons I wanted to do this is give people something just to look at. I'm going on 8 minutes, so 8.5. It's kind of long, so I want to wrap this up. But anyway, hope the mic's working. Hope you guys are hanging in there. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit more refined. I'm just probably going to break this into 2 channels. Still be same thing, but a little bit more positivity and spirituality, coping, as well as like prosthetic and little tips like how to use a bedside commode properly or a slide board or something. That is such a cool little thing is the slide board. If you're in a wheelchair, you either know about them already or you're gonna want to know about them. And anyway, yeah, I love y'all guys, and this is really helpful for me, and I hope it can help one person, then it's all worth it. All right, peace out, everybody. Later.